Alabama, the favorites to win it all because they are loaded on both sides of the ball. Heisman Trophy winner on offense and maybe the best player in all of college football on defense, Will Anderson Jr., entering his junior season after leading the FBS in a bunch of categories last year, including 17 and a half sacks. Anderson speaking today at SEC Media Days in Atlanta.
Will Anderson, Alabama linebacker, the National Defensive Player of the Year. Welcome to SEC Media Days. I just saw you in an interview say the thing that concerns you most is not being successful. What do you mean by that?
You know, not getting, just not being where I want to be at, knowing how much hard work I put in and, everything I work so hard for and not getting to where I know I need to be at. That's, one of the most things, so.
I mean, kind of dovetailing off that, Who do you think, what team did the best job against you last year?
I would just say I had a little off game versus Texas A&M. I was doing the interview and I was just telling them I think that's one of the games where I beat myself up a lot because I wasn't in the mind space where I needed to be for that game, and I wasn't where my feet are that week of preparation where I needed to be. So probably they did a really good job of that.
You've talked about this 100 times, but a few months ago, you weren't a Heisman finalist.
Yes.
How much did that motivate you then, and how much does that motivate you now?
I mean, back then, like I said, when I write down my goals for the year, the Heisman was never, on my goal sheet. Never even thought about Heisman for a defensive player, and then it hit me when it actually happened, and I put it on my goal sheet this year. It's because not only just for myself, but for younger athletes that play defense as well, that no matter what position you play, or, even athletes that's in, college right now, that, we're capable, we're worthy enough of, being a Heisman candidate or winning a Heisman. So I put it on there, just for, the other defensive players around the country.
People argued whether you or Aiden Hutchinson should have been on there. He finished, I think, second in the voting.
Yes.
What does that tell you about the ability of a defensive player to get it now?
I think it's a real big shot for, a defensive player to get it now. We both had, great stats. She had great stats. I had great stats. But, things happen. People vote differently. But, as just having a defensive player on there, it meant something big.
All right, we mentioned this off camera. You've been asked this maybe 15 times about one Derek Thomas.
Yes.
You saw him play on film, one of the greatest, maybe the greatest Alabama edge linebacker ever.
Indeed.
Is there a comparison?
People like to compare.
Yeah.
I would say as far as a get off and him getting off the ball, I see a big comparison because his get off, I for me when I'm rushing the passer, I feel like the get off is one of the most important things. And I was just telling them in the interview room, as soon as the ball was hiked, he was already in the backfield. And I said, I feel bad for the opposing tackles because I know it was a challenge trying to stay in front of him.
Miss Terrian told me about, your get-off as a fullback at Dutchtown. There wasn't much of a get-off when she was crying to the head coach and he wanted to change you to defense.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
So, yeah, I always play running back or fullback or anything like that. And then my coach, Coach Rogers, he came up to me. He said, you're going to be a very special player and you're going to do a lot of big things, but you come to play defensive end. And I said, I don't know nothing about defensive end, nothing. No three-point stands, no moves. So I'm just running up the field. But I just had, naturally athletic ability to play the position. And, I flourished at the position, with no training, no nothing, just going out there, learning what the little stuff like my coach did teach me and stuff like that, the drills and stuff like that. And ever since then, I started training. I started trying to perfect my craft, and it took off. So it wasn't a bad decision.
By the way, Miss Terry and your mother could be your agent right now. She's your biggest fan, having met her.
She is.
Again, dovetailing into that, you've got a new NIL initiative called A3. I think it's about ready to launch. Tell us about that.
Yes, it is. So basically, A3 Athlete, A3 3.0 is just a brand. It's my brand, and it's just to help student athletes navigate their way through this NIL journey that we have going on right now. And I know for me and my family, you know, everything that we've been through, it was a little bit overwhelming, you know, because, you know, you don't know a lot of terminology, you don't know a lot of verbiage that goes into contracts, deals, you don't know how to negotiate things as well. So, you know, my advisory group, you know, BJ's helping me, and Kenyon and the other people are helping me, you know, me and my family navigate through this journey, and it's been great. So I just, you know, I want, you know, other student athletes that's younger than me or, you know, in the same position I am to have an outlet to go to, you know, to help them with their brand and help them, you know, navigate their way through this journey.
So you can actually, you will actually give advice.
Yes.
To guys in the space.
Yes.
All right, what does Will Anderson Jr. have to improve on this year?
For me, I just want to work on, like me and Coach Saban talked at the end of the season, and, you know, working on those counter moves at the top of my rush, and also, you know, playing in space a little bit better with pass dropping and stuff like that. So this whole offseason, I've been working on that with my coach. My new coach, me and him sat down and talked about it as well. And, you know, it's been great. It's been a really good job, and I've been taking the coaching, and I can, you know, start to see, you know, the coaching starting to show in practice and stuff like that. But it's been good. So those are the two things.
How do you keep this out of your mind? There's a handful of guys, maybe ever or every year, that are so good after 2 years, they literally don't have to play.
Yeah.
Could still get drafted high. How do you keep that sort of thing out of your mind?
I love football too much. I can't sit in the outskirts and watch other people play football because I'll be too anxious to get out there and want to play. And, you know, I've started something and I'm committed to it, and I have to stick to it. And I think that's one of the biggest things. I committed myself to the University of Alabama, and I committed myself to my teammates, and I'm going to give them everything I got. You know, so that's why I think it's so easy for me.
Will Anderson, thank you.
Thank you.
And much more on everything college football on the Cover 3 podcast. The guys ramping up to the college football season, which is just about 6 weeks away.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.